Welcome to Boston Originals, a series that celebrates some of the most vital work that is emerging from the greater Boston region at this time. Tonight, you'll have a chance to encounter some of the mighty voices that are contributing to our sonic texture of our town, both town and gown, and not just to our town, but to renovating the place that is poetry and language. As Inger Christensen once said, poetry is a place where things are put into action, into relationship, encompassing all zones and degrees of relationship, abstract, concrete, and complex, primary and secondary, central and peripheral, mystical. No single event can ever represent the totality of that place, but I believe that these 7 poets, 7 is, after all, the sacred number, as they say, each of them reading 10-ish, 12-ish minutes, will awaken you to the manyness that is among us. Before we begin the event, and in absentia of the recipient, I might add, I wanted to announce the person that we would like to give this year's Friend of the Word Award. It's an award selected by a committee of 2, me and Mary, over coffee, which honors someone who's truly put words into action for our community. This year, we're proud to give it to a person who helps us all to assemble in these times when assembly is so crucial, who dedicates his extracurricular time to ensuring that the word gets out and about all of the readings in Boston, whose calendar of events, not unlike Thoreau's own calendar of growths, will one day be one of the great documents of this region's literary history, and who is himself an astonishing poet, published, are people guessing this, by such presses as Ugly Duckling Press and Zasterly, and a previous editor of the journal Poker. However, he is not here, but he remains. Shall we guess it? Bouchard. Dan Bouchard. So anyway. Can I borrow that? So there's going to be 4 readers and then 3. I don't know why we decided to do 4 and 3, but that's what we decided. Randomness is all. And so the first, you have the biographies of all of your readers. We won't be reading them out, but the first 4 readers are John Mulrooney, Caroline Knox, Kevin Holden, and Sam Cha. Please welcome them in that order.
Hey, everybody. This is just for the recording, right?
Yes, so please speak a little louder.
Okay. Sing in calm. I no longer can. In deep anguish, I can't write down. I follow the death of my own irresponsible generation. Jonas Mekas, who we lost this year. Poem beginning with a line by Jonas Mekas. I follow the death of my own irresponsible generation, who are seated on a passage tomb, smiling that smile that says, last known photo, who are hanging paintings in the Atomic Bean Cafe for a show titled Happy Little Accidents, who are making seascapes titled, At Least I Tried. If you feel sickness, keep your eye on the horizon and remember that all learning is remembering. And you were the wing of a bird unknown that you propelled to see the place where the river turns in the valley, where it turns reckless to the sea. This is Merely. It's for the poet Anselm Berrigan. It takes 5 minutes to read 2 poems called Jim Brody. Then the Braintree train comes, and there are still 3 more poems called Jim Brody because a year has passed since the emergency when I lost a patron saint of memory and the city's sirens choired outside my window, and for all 4 quarters of the Super Bowl I lay in my hospital bed waiting for my sister to come around again. There will come a time when I will look at the word singularity and know what it really means. This will be before or after the coming of the actual singularity, and before or after the city emerges as a city where time, present, and past fight over who will blame it on the coin toss when they don't beat the spread. And in this time, the real less and less really, strange moods of silence broken by the broken-hearted breath of fair jumpers assing through the cars of a Braintree train, thrashing pigeons both possum and chameleon, gray on gray tile, really Pyrrhic pigeon trapped in a subway car, drop-kicked and clutched by art or nature, camouflaged, jiu-jitsu'd, feet and feathers all, a rage not silent that wants to feel fortified by the stability of any invocation, what we might do when we aren't seeking credit for merely becoming awake, or merely remembering not to block a doorway when you stand at a terminal station for 5 full minutes, gazing at an open field, and feel the moist folds of its leaves through your eyes in the mirror of what merely really is. And in a Boston Originals reading, seems to make sense to have a poem for John Wieners. Poem on the Epiphany for John Wieners. A gust of snow on Massachusetts Avenue plumes, angelic like chalk dust from erasures that let you escape a lie, wipe it away and forget it was ever meant for you. This is how we acquaint grace, not in a day, but little by little, diminution of belief in false gods that never hear our prayer. I will go and follow the snow monkeys, traverse distressed branches to avoid the icy slopes, until peat moss and fiddleheads, scant slivers of spring, peek through, revelation in the snow. And this year, just past the anniversary of losing. Oh, hey Dan, congratulations! You know, and we're you know, we all still mourning the loss of Garrett Lansing. Lines composed on Amtrak after hearing Garrett is gone. A lone swan swans up the river at Old Saybrook. The last bit of snow slithers between fall and flurry. Light rolls above our heads, stars and the reflections of stars. Headlights and the reflections of headlights merged in the glass. And below, the Quinnebog River gone pointillist, thick crust of ice in the shallows, some mud or other rage below the surface. See the light, the other light come to join your light, another world illuminated. Still, it's hard to see night creeping into mystic. Orange and yellow earth movers, a fading gleam in winter twilight. Tonka trucks tearing up the soluble forest. You lie in state at Stage Fort Park, your voice the milk of stars, a passage opening in a thicket, the earth's mouth a door to the infinite, the route, the way, the map of the way. And this is a some water. This is a short, mute history of locusts and cicadas, which is nevertheless what I remember, but I couldn't speak of it, the incident with the locusts, which I thought were cicadas, a riot of dark photons out of an alley, a fleet of winged shouting tongues, a swarm and then the slow replacing of the swarm with something more, thicker, stable, and sluggish. If there was a word for this, you would form it by mouthing wonder, but hearing terror. But I couldn't speak of it. The locust rose from the ground and scattered across the sky, and from behind a locust curtain, a world emerged that you could almost swear was this one we are in. The cicadas here are bigger than your fist, wrap around the sound of jackhammers and the tolling of temple bells. On the day Liu Xiaobo died, I sat in a coffee shop in Shanghai learning to make the characters of Mao Zedong's name from a 20-year-old girl who sang Taylor Swift at karaoke. The word for rubbing two names together has the sound of an extinct bird in it and must be formed purely by luck. The best dumplings in Shanghai can be ordered without speaking, a series of gestures, hand-waving in the sleepy clamor of the French concession, on the day of the words fire and fury, unlike the world has ever seen, which must be formed by trying to tear the wings off other words. The word you roll your tongue over, a piece of food you wish was a word. A firm piece of comprehension that tastes like truth is made by stridulation of the spleen and the lower intestine. The incident with the locusts sent its shock through me because all I know of pattern is the occasional, the elliptical, the scattered, that of which I cannot speak, which is nevertheless what I remember. And last poem I'm going to read is called Pareidolia, which is when we see shapes, like when people see, Jesus in their toast and faces. When we see shapes of faces, when we see the human form in other things. And there's gnome hogs in here, which are they're idols that were worshipped in the west of Ireland, or where they believe that they were worshipped. Some of this poem sort of takes place sort of on Achill Island. And I don't know very much about gnome hogs, which will become evident presently. Pareidolia. Faces in the hedgerows appear in the late dusk. The muddy green darkens, reveals fluid smiles, placid anguishes, quivers of faces, hardly faces, the light lighting out, a question unanswered, a darkness revealed. The ruddy face of dusk fading to the nothing burger of darkness. Darkness beneath the dusk above the wreckage of a pickup truck at the mouth of the abandoned village and its wreckage that has graduated to ruin. Blank pedestals covered in lichens and moss, the gnome hogs absent and smashed with missionary zeal as far as we can discern. A face in darkness is itself darkness soon enough. A mouse in a humane trap makes little plastic sounds in a dusk that reveals this day like any other, slipping into a different like any other. You thought you knew the day you took a different mouse humanely to the landfill as a benevolent god. The slate blue clouds, a panther with a third eye, a tray of figs and lemons, a nest of cobalt eggs or ritual stones, a copse of trees ready to burst, an explosion of starlings seen from the shore that mimic the quick motion of steam up from the sink that obfuscate the hedgerows disappearing in the dusk before both are forgotten. A motion of matter departicularizing into the undiscernible, a smashing of idols, a filtering out of photons, a Heraclitan stream of one shape saying no, and then many shapes saying no, no, no. A day in which the shape of another day fits perfectly like a you-sized disguise of you, your own face covered by this face, unlike any other you know but haven't seen, like the faces in the hedgerows you can no longer discern, a blank like any other, like the day we went to that store in the thawing snow, but that store was closed, the shafts of sunlight finding their way beneath the bridge, the highway that spanned the river, astonished the roofs and gutters. The whole day was revealed as the day that other days had only been the placeholder for, so that even when we went back out into the light and the familiar territory, it was new, a familiarity that had not happened before. Gnome hog means ship, or God, or maybe ship and God, or maybe godship, a magic that crosses water. No one knows that, or even if they guarded the abandoned village in the time before it was abandoned. But at least there are songs about it. Songs of smashed idols that might just have been cracked cars or just abandoned ships that sing, I was from where I was from until I was from somewhere else. I used to wear a smock that was ever renewed and came near, came through, came near the wreckage, came through the near wreckage, near came through the wreckage, the wreckage came near through the wreckage. It was all, and it was all around me. The unseasonable around me, the music, it was all and all without measure, and it was all occasionally. It made you feel empathy for a creature perceived to be weaker than oneself. A creature nearly come through the wreckage, but the wreckage meant it could not be measured. The music, the mouse in the humane trap, who is the same mouse who was in the humane trap before, but looks different each time, or is a different mouse who looks the same each time, like the school shooter just now who looks like the school shooter just then, the face that will stay wanting to not stay, a shape that says no, 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 forever in a Heraclitan stream of bullets. He looks like the last like any other you would see before becoming the like any other you never thought you'd be. If you don't take a mouse over a body of water, or over a major highway, it will return home, as it were, to what you call your home, or wherever you have not abandoned yet. And so you really have been taking the same mouse to the abandoned landfill if you won't cross the water in the ship of whatever God you wish to be. The doctor can't comment on the ages of the victims or the prognosis of the wounded. the plain, answerable questions put on dumb show to keep us from the unanswerable. How it is that someday wreckage graduates to ruin. The arms of the woman gesticulating on the playground obscure her face. Hands, open and close, like birds trapped in hedgerows, reach out, touch the human form not fully in the frame, that cannot be discerned, seeking a shape that will say, yes. Thank you.
I'm Caroline Knox. I'm thrilled to be here tonight. I'm reading from a new book called Here Trains. I think I'm reading 10 poems. I wouldn't mow the field. I wouldn't mow the field until the springs had frozen totally over, say February, when the last birds and bugs had fledged and flown. When the Joe Pye weed, 7 feet tall from all its deep nutrition in the springs, had turned gray and powdery and gaunt, until the meadowsweet, which is a wildcat spirea, had given up. I wouldn't mow it until the ice could bear the machine, until it wouldn't buckle under, and the baleful loosestrife had gone to seed. 2 tiny native orchids, Spiranthes tassera gracilis and Habenaria lacera, slender and torn, grow in the shade of all these tough and taller species. Minute colonies of mosses surround these orchids. You wouldn't know they were there unless you knew they were there. The neighbor who yearly mows this field was once a member of some elite and corporate power structure. Now he deliberately guides an internal combustion engine forward and back across field after field after field, a happy man, spring-ridden. This is the title poem of the book, Here Trains. So Sioux means jump, as in sauter in France, but not in New France. In Old France, the L dropped out. In New, they kept it. Sault Ste. Marie, the leap, the rapids. But in a linguistic roux, Sioux became Soo, S-O-O, reduced. Very practical, actually, like semaphores or an aquifer. Why clouds needing airfoils ballooned up over the skiff portage under the overpass of the Soo Line and north to the Sioux Dominion connector. As sailors to the top, they say ship because the ship rolls. Here trains while asleep, slipping into foul weather gear. Here trains while asleep. This is about a statue in California. It's called Sun God Appears. Sun God appears on the campus of the University of California at San Diego among endearing neighbors. Geisel Library, named for Dr. Seuss, and cheek by jowl with John Muir College, named for the pioneer naturalist and ecologist, Niki de Saint-Phal. Fake it. 1983. Curiously, Sun God manages to look both matte and shiny at the same time. It is a toy, a man, a bird, a woman, a bat. It evokes Calder in its plain speaking. It evokes poster paint. Made of fiberglass, its innards mask a steel frame in the public sculpture garden, because what is more public than light? Oh, sun god, shine on us, we are covered with gold leaf. Who is going to tell you? Who is going to tell you that you can't write a whole poem in comma splice? Who would be in a position to know the tree trunk is covered with colonies of creepy moss? The raisin bread is what you don't like. She says Kenya, but he says Kenya. My father's a parson in Norfolk. Elizabeth observed serious vertical rain. He's a jerk. They wear the Laura Ashley laundry bags. They all wear them. Ralph Royster Doyster. A tisane may be made in winter from rosemary sprays or fennel seed. Muriel Rukeyser wrote, "No one ever walking this our only earth, various, very clouded in all our forests, in all the valleys of our earthly dreams." This may be a list poem. It's nobody's business if you want to write like this. A cousin was attacked in the forest. If I were you, I'd go through the turnstile. Je le porte le nouveau plateau. Let the jussive subjunctive be used. She would be happy with chocolate milk. Polished paving stones were once millstones grinding. No one has met Jugurtha. Our blood is being cleaned for us as we speak, and we'll take a course in the Norwegian craft of rose mauling. Velcro is the opposite of Teflon. Melville knew New Bedford well. Straits are a dicey place for boats to shelter secretly. Children sang "There is a camel in my bed" to the tune of "There is a tavern in the town." Reggie read a biography of Stanley Baldwin. Define the oblast. Redingotes are obsolete. She's earthy and sophisticated. We know that the King Arthur legends reached Italy because of the reliefs on the Modena architrave. Some mammals are sponges. You think it's funny to play mailbox baseball. Anti-disestablishmentarianism. Forsythia is like a school bus. The passive voice is looked down on. The billiard balls, when they carry 'em off a side with a bright, dry crack, shoot in another direction. Code switch. Sophia, a real person, not an allegory, sat on the top row of seats in the amphitheater at Ephesus. I stood way down at the center of the theater below. Sophia said, "Hello, Caroline," quietly. I said, "Hello, Sophia," quietly. This was 1959. We heard one another exactly. How great when a poem does an extra job, like Robert Morgan's piece on Poetry Daily, History. He made each and teeth rhyme. History could go between any poem and any other poem in a book on a screen and would ennoble the context. Ennoble the context is a code switch. Sophia and I, teenagers, thought the context of Ephesus was pretty ennobled already, what with St. Paul and all in Acts, and Artemis. Morgan biographed Daniel Boone, prolific frontier hero in the theater of the 7 Years' War and elsewhere. Same age almost as Washington, who was there too. How about that? Whom Ron Chernow biographed nobly, Boone is the subject of tons of fake lore. Morgan set the record straight, and fake lore itself is a form of code switch. It's like decay, the half-life of radium. This is called Who. Who. His ancestor was a wandering Aramean. His forebear was a fugitive Sherpa. His antecedent was a refugee biped. His forerunner was a migrant upright mammal. His great-greatest uncle was a pioneer nomad. His footloose prototype was an intrepid mountaineer. His peripatetic relative was a transcendentalist. His muscle-bound cousin was a vagabond naturalist. His genetic hero was a water-born Leander. His ice-breaking kinsman was a spear-throwing Aleut. His flaxen-haired grandam threw a mean horseshoe. His aunt was a Spinoza-quoting equestrian sorceress. His venturesome uncles were dribbling globetrotters. His wayfaring skylab was a peregrine falcon. So close and ancient, wrote John L. Mackenzie, S.J., were ties between Israel and Aram, and space is disappearing and your singularity, wrote Frank O'Hara, both of them right. Two more. This is called Manganese. I gave myself an assignment. I wanted to write a poem that had a lot of minerals in it. Manganese. After we had heard the notables reading their poems at the Zinc Bar, we went along to the Palladium Theater, presenting our gold and platinum cards for ticks, to wait for the curtain of arsenic and old lace. We both spoke Manganese so as not to be understood. Some people have a tin ear as phosphorus glows in jellyfish at night. Then we found out that our chromium-adorned, unlocked, rented Mercury was stolen. When you need one, where's the copper with a silver bullet who could help you out on this one? Or a Silicon Valley type with a whiff of sulfur, as if the devil had been at hand. If I had a nickel for every similar blunder I've made, I could afford to send up a neon sign on a helium balloon saying it was my ineptitude that led to all this. Okay, a religious poem to end with, okay? It's called Saints Partying. Saints Partying. On the Santa Ana winds, this elevated group soars, and at night, by the light of St. Elmo's fire, they drift as far as Santo Domingo and beyond. You should see them gyrating to the St. Louis Blues and the St. James Infirmary, the opposite of St. Bernard's. On breaks, this one reads Four Saints in Three Acts by Stein. That one is reading St. Joan by Shaw. A third is reading Mont Saint-Michel and Chartres by Henry Adams. They are all reading about themselves in the lives of the saints in Saint-Tropez or Saint-Moritz, watering places de luxe. The saints make frequent use of the antidepressant and antioxidant St. John's wort, settling in with cases of Saint-Emilion. One of them retells the riddle of As I Was Going to St. Ives. Another recites the Eve of St. Agnes. One is immersed in Rumer Godden's lovely novel, A Candle for St. Jude. They dine on cookies St. Jacques. And they think this is lots of fun, but extreme hedonism and extravagance and cultural overload catch up with every one of them. So they go on the historic pilgrimage, mountain and valley, desert and plain and swamp, to Santiago de Compostela. Thank you all very much.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm going to read the first poem from this book, which is called Solar, and then a few poems from a new book, new manuscript. So this poem is called Sun Tape. We called everyone twin there. If you are trying to see inside, white, gold, radii, you have to remember that you have had these experiences yourself. Yellow, pyramid, sun, that is what it's all about. A surface about the alt sun, asleep above this sleep you see to sleep the day away in arms and lit light a sequence, salt chalk, we're an eye over there against the wall, he there at the other wall, a rounder, and rub the dirt, taste dark the flowers, if in the cracks of it hard root and brown in the sun of the whole day. If you are trying to bend the spoon with your mind, use your hand. 5.552. We could say, if there were a logic, even if there were no world, how then could there be a logic, since there is a world? 4.014. Like the two youths, there are two horses, and there are lilies in the story. They are all, in a certain sense, one. If you stare long enough at the sun, if lions come out, if several chords at once, hydraulics, pi is just a number. My brother lost our parents in a maze of violence. We played in water. There was someone at the window, all the colors sewing that exact stitch in water and seeds. My brother and I slept in the same bed. If we could follow the path downward, if we gathered that flower, the radius is made of cotton or golden seal, and then we knew it was poisonous. They didn't tell us, we just found out. There was a wall in a place we couldn't ever get to. There was always a bank of cloud there, so white and so tall, and I don't know it. The boy is a curve on the mirror, the whole world is, and a sun. Or believe the sun is a hollowness that is nonetheless real, bending itself into a hollow. We can rest there, if you like. Each second repeating itself from its curvature, moving the way shadows do up that black hill. And so now just a few poems from this book called Pink Noise, which is actually a kind of noise, a random noise like white noise. And these are, I've only read these a couple times. They're sort of dense. Some of them are short, but they're dense. So it's a little ambitious, but we'll see. Nephilim, antiphonal 12-tone, as if there could be such a thing. Anticomb, the pollen, a yellow shivering, to take your seraphim and synapses, the spaces between a raven, a crow, an owl, show me the backside of the data barn, 1 yettabyte of brain. Oh, come on now, you would say, supercomputer, unbutton your pants. Boolean. Endless hours opening, a field flung in dark roses, slowing, it is not a hinge flowing, snowing, the snow upon snow, branches infinitely in bark. It could be Boolean, those 360 versions of change, your rhinestones clacking down the gear shaft. Do you remember the bus driver, all in numbers, these red tables for blue picnics, or see the world, 10,000 things all aglow or sparking, feldspar, alluromancer in finite powders bluster, cyanide foam and language outside music, red shifting cascade of empty rhythms. La, la, any force through your brain vector. La, leave us all a polychoron in there. Chrysoprase. Icosahedron, the antipodal variation for Vivian, and wheels within wheels take him from behind, folding in infinite variation. The god splits in two and is in front and is behind this perfect green man cut out of wood. Anyway, ophonym, the darker substrate, a Subway, McDonald's, a Wendy's at 3 a.m. in the wastes of the city, come out of the club, enter the electric grid, ECT shivering up through her spine and digitizing thunder and traffic noises, say again, rainbow, rainbow, all the music is a rainbow. Aves. Transform that space, well, you're okay, how much money did you get? Purple sage field, he'd say, it was real, well, I don't remember that fold, a flock of geese in triangles, I'll give you 20, that's what, that would be what the birds start with. Peridot, sorry, I always get very dry. Peridot or Peridot, Peridot? Stone. Greenstone. Awaken each moment in an emerald cube and see that scene of transmutation, that metamorphosis or phosphorescent blur, point being be inside the point of light, lit a rhizome to be it then, greener algorithm in his mind, bones in his white sheen, bulge in his white jeans, vein in his big arms. Regardless, Hegel saw the pyramids as vast prisms of death. Regardless, Vishnu reclines on a sea of milk, the sky milk blue and astringent, he says. The snow is a different color up here, blue, like skim milk, he says. Why we recline on this day as opposed to others. The world is all that we must pass over in silence. Antichoron flame up in his mind, this sticks and null set recombine to a vision of your life behind bars, an ever-darkening infinity, so you break it apart with your little bare hands and thank your mother for your name. Highland Plains. That would any we heap in glassy mathematics, shiver into a corner, black and white go, strung over grid, little bowls, you to show any stellation in here. Please be my blue redux for aqueduct labeling, you shout dark Nibelung, I'd say happy opaque quartz a-shouting. All those plains, ever chiming in it, blacken your ore into transfinite huge glyph, white aleph burning into you, luciferase. Taste that salt at the starry edge now. We weep into happy cubes, feet untethered but aimless, vectoralist. You shower in rosy shadows. Poetry is the negative space of being. In it all folded ligaments shower, vortex for the fistful flowers. Back in it for you, J. Curve. We are here, saddened in those multiform dances, flow out in a dress of graphemes, naked at the door. Halcyon. You'd say a long time and the motion perpetual, parahelix for a daybreak, a rebus, a rhombit, a tisket, a tasket, head of Orpheus in a wicker basket. Styrax. A curve into the back loft, a snowdrift, anthracite, green, partitioned uptaking, or cruciform, asphodel in circular sunlight, witness to a crime in that empty lot, chain link fence and glinting broken glass, late at night, and a moving frame, hustler or John, side shifting in the shadows, move off that to a forest and then a scene of different men lined up from the past, each under a different tree, and the fountain or reflecting pool or rose garden, isotope of brain and a field of silver green light, at the circle of the pond cells and blades of grass, aligned and repeating in a cubed or bordered array, dashes and circuitry accumulating in muted gleams, and holding hands, they make their way across the waterway, up jaw, arrow, arch, and flowered stone. 2 more. Helix. To get to that place behind the beech tree, that place beyond that greenery, sing foil up into a blaze, ring out sound in a final blue flash. Deep tones ground into the metal, rose gold aureole, little bird to throw you up to the sky. Each second is its own thought. I've been to many parts of this city. Each section changes so much, or does not change anywhere. Marble slab in the mind of God or air. And the last one. Cornflower. Return that crisper, gray square, aleatoric television in an emerald light or lightning bug, an allotropic variety, wander derivatively, regressing for a queen and a castle, 8 times 8, and a series of planned permutations, showing clue, cube, cough, set from the start, and a winter flower, 5 points of the folded star, or sigils, a lyotropic series that could be a metamorphic pathway to a woodland brook, a hooded ministry, or black-blooded falconress, mustard seed, golden yield, hand hurting in another mind, your limits of being pulled over onto the other sphere, lichen, birch, a phenomenal ray, or angels bunched in a corner, head or heart, and we walk over those fields and search ever for a window frame for the world, and something tracing a ladder, something, and you say, leave that there for quartet for the end of time, building in language games, that non-space by the board, or the lilac bush, glyphs spelled outward in a salt scrawl, or the white asymptote watches you every dawn through your eyes. That's what happened to me.
Hi. A Theology of You. 1. One day I woke up, absolutely convinced I was dying. Does that happen to you too? If it does, then this is for you. If not, then this is still for you. One day you'll wake up and you'll be absolutely convinced you're dying, and you'll be absolutely correct. I might be absolutely correct already, which is why you should read this book. How often do you get to read a book that's written by somebody who's absolutely correct? This is your lucky day, and mine. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Slightly chilly, gray, with wind blowing dust in my face, which might, by the time you read this, absolutely be the dust that blows into yours. It's like a kiss then, though once or twice removed. But it absolutely belongs to you. 2, you, whenever you are, holding me there in your hands, captured, saved, held up, bound between cover and cover, between one place and every other, you, for whom I write these devotions, these hymns, I, here in the desert of determined reactions, settled debates, sorted particles, cold precipitates, wasted heat, what you call the past. I, sitting here in this sand-grain moment, already falling to the bottom of the hourglass, I send myself to you. A fossil, an invitation. What I want to be, a home for you to live in. What I want to say is, 3, hey, you come here, to revise the epistolary form, which inescapably implies distance in time and space, which is probably useful. Aren't we all thus didactically anchored and bound, and isn't it good to acknowledge that? But I like, hey, as if we were mid-conversation, and I just had a slightly pear-shaped idea drop off the tree of potential knowledge, just plop into my hand, ready to toss over to you. For instance, I've been thinking lately sort of sublinguistically or pre-post verbally about what it is to think, about what thinking is. It seems to me that people are saddest when they believe that they are alone, that they're or disconnected from other people, and this feeling of disconnection or isolation is the unavoidable, unforgivable corollary of our feeling unconnected to the world, of our forgetting that we humans are not two things, mind and body, mind dangling from the body like a half-deflated balloon, but one, and that our bodies, which are our minds, are part of the world, that they are no less a feature or creature of the universe than mountains or stars, that we're not things, battered action figures, tossed one by one into the toy box earth, but places pushed up like mountains to erode and weather. We are places that move. We are places. We're part of the world. We're part of the same thing. Everything we do or say or feel is part of an unfolding real, bounded but infinite within its bounds, connected in a web of cause and effect. And so my perceptions, my consciousness, my words, my thoughts are part of the movement of the world. Our particles moving and fluids, our geological and cosmological processes in no essential way different from the formation of diamonds, metamorphosis of the imago into dragonfly, the workings of the fundamental forces of the universe, are their result and their cause. Yours are too. 4. For instance, I was on the back porch a couple of months after the twins were born. I have children. I have twins. Past midnight, sleeplessness turned me into velvet, furred and folding, a luxury of sweat. Was there ever a moon? Were there ever stars? The world so dark, I turned inside out, and I, a membrane, a bubble. Inside the bubble was a world, and outside the bubble something that could have been the world but wasn't. And inside the world, inside the bubble, there was a dark like the dark outside, and inside this dark, inside the world, inside there was someone who sat on a porch in the dark, all of his joints feeling wrung out and soft like cotton, and he sat there in the dark, tired, blank, and lit a cigarette and breathed in and out inside the bubble, and so the only light in his world brightened and dimmed with his breathing, and he felt he was inside out, which meant he was looking inside himself to look at me. And I looked and he looked at the sparks falling from his cigarettes and saw stars, which was either a failure of imagination or a true glimpse of the stars hidden in that further interior, the stars I'd thought I couldn't see. How sad he was, I should say, at this point. If this is going to make any kind of sense, doesn't he sound kind of sad? All staring and inside, and all outside of himself looking in, like sitting on the porch of his life, not in the house, not out. But he wasn't. And maybe the point is precisely that he wasn't sad, that there was something more interesting than the existence or non-existence of any self or soul to be sad or not sad, the self looking at the self looking and the self looking back. That inner world and the world inside that world and the world inside that and all the wheels in wheels in wheels. Which of them real? All of them. How Ezekiel describes the angels, the gears of a clock, the cylinder of a revolver, a knot, circles and circles, and inside them other circles, and all the circles rimmed with eyes, each of them looking in and also always out, each of them looking everywhere for God, who is the self they lack, who contains, imagines, and sees them, who is also seen, imagined, and contained. Circuit of sight, an electric fluid, brighter and brighter each time around till it blinds like love, as I am only such an I looking at you. Coda, essay on Terry Pratchett. It is widely acknowledged that there are two kinds of writers, the living and the dead. This is false. Given time, a writer will always die. Once dead, they will spend infinitely more time dead than they did alive. A living writer is therefore only infinitesimally alive. In other words, they're already dead. Since dead writers are dead and living writers are also dead, all writers are dead. To write is therefore to die. But you, the reader, because you are the reader, are always alive. If you die, you are by definition not a reader. This is the immortality afforded by literature. It is not given to the writer, as so many writers have wrongly supposed. It is given to the reader, and then only so long as they are a reader. It will not prevent somebody who has been a reader from dying. But while you are a reader, you are deathless because you are reading. Be kind then, reader. You are alive because I am dead. I'm going to read a bit from the first part of this chapbook, which I don't have any more copies of. I only got a few author copies, and then I sold them or gave them away. One I exchanged for a Lyft ride when when a bus broke down on my way back from New York. So that was cool. I've never done that before. So the first part of this chapbook is a play in verse, and the three characters in this play are fictionalized versions of, very lightly fictionalized versions of three mass shooters. And there's an argument to be made that you shouldn't talk about these people, shouldn't give them the time. But, and sometimes I agree with that, but they tell me, I think, what it is to be part of what it is to be American, which I'm still learning. And so, there we go. So at the end of this play, fictionalized versions of the Columbine shooters have left the stage, and the last monologue is in the voice of a version of the Virginia Tech shooter. So here we go. And there are stage directions that I'm going to read, and there's going to be shouting, so you might want to close the door.
That's something the undergraduates can handle.
Okay. Eric and Dylan exit, dancing. The curtain falls behind them. Sin tries to follow them, but doesn't make it. The curtain falls right in front of him. Tries to pull through, but can't. He might as well be trying to walk through a wall. He's stranded on stage. He doesn't like it. Looks to the left, right, does not look at the audience, not for long. Quick darting movements to stage left and right, each time foiled. He can't get through. Finally stops, back turned to the audience. Soon. I know not by what name, I know not, name not, I. Not I. I not and not I. Turns, face distorts. A mask falling off or on. Smell of burnt toast, melting plastic, falling from above, ash, crumpled papers, centipedes, foxtails, a military dictatorship, tear gas grenades, the opening bars of all 9 Beethoven symphonies averaged out into a tonal mush, Hugh Hefner's smoking jacket, dolls' heads, empty boxes of fillet of fish. Soon, screams, harsh-edged, metallic, a panzerdi cadence, perverted. I, 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 I. Hollow, 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 hollow was the eye, hollow the head, hollow the sun, hollow the chest, and hollow the earth. Hollow skin, hollow mouth, hollow tongue, hollow soul. Hollow as the angels, hollow as mountains, hollow as ocean, hollow as the word, hollow self, hollow shadow, hollow. There is a wave, there is an avalanche, there is blood, there is moon broken in half, there is blood from I and 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 I again, 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 again. I do not speak with the tongue, I do not speak with the tongue you gave me. You can have it, you can have it. Do you want it? I don't think so. 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 I don't. Did I fucking, did I stunt? Did I stop? Did I still, did I? Sharp shot, did I stutter? With my child tongue, I say, I and the air stabs in, leaks out, yeah, 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 of, yeah, this mouth, yeah, yeah, and will always, I will always, with my child tongue, with my other tongue, with my iron tongue. There is a wave, there is a landslide, there are the weaving hollow stars, there is blood. There's the sounds clustering, the mantis eggs hatched, and all the little thorned insect sounds march down, all the hooked arms, all the hunger legs, all the segments of hollow march up and down the hollow body of hollow eye, hollow head, hollow sun, hollow day. I am not but not, twisting knots of knots. There is wave, there is crash, there is tongue, there is moon, and I am in it. Everything the moon can see, I see from the moon, which is nothing the moon does not see, and the sea I do not see moves up when the moon does not see, and I, and the moon, in the choke, in the gray, in the round desert hollow zero am I, and I am the universe, and I am everything I am, and everything is not. There is wave, and crash, and tongue, and crab, and wave, and moon broken in the wave, and I am in it, and moon, and wave, and crash, and I am always nothing but I, and you are I, am nothing but not, I'll show. The stage goes abruptly dark, but in the dark, rhythmically, each typographical space, a unit of time, we hear the monotone bark. I. Thanks.
So I'm only going to be here for 5 seconds. I just wanted to say the final three readers, and this reading has just been astonishing, I think, for everyone. Do we not agree? Are going to be Jessica Bozek, Josh Bell, and Edwin Alanís-García. Okay, please welcome them.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to read one poem from The Tales, which is my last book. And it's very political, and the new stuff that I've been working on is really personal, and that kind of partitioning feels very wrong right now, so maybe the next book will somehow merge the two. The Sadist's Tale. The soldiers came and made tunnels in the ground. The little metal mouths of their machines gnawed at the foundations of the most harmonious houses until all the citizens were disconnected. The water molecules turned disorderly, the plants wilted, and the animals' hackles were always slightly up. On the coldest night of the year, when the stars strung their glow in the trees' upper branches, the commanding officer asked the citizens to breathe their last breath. Eager to unite once more toward some common goal, they positioned themselves across the landscape and rolled out of their skins and died. All right, so I'm going to read some poems from a project cheerily called Grief Machine. Go to a wide field some windy afternoon. Look toward the horizon, where the animals, one by one, will stutter out of view. Lie down in what looks like the center. Grind the aching blue sky, if you can, to a fine powder, and scatter it across the dirt as you mouth the options. Tuck those away in your pocket. Then fiddle with your zippers and pull up your hood. Begin with a fact. Most treatments for cancer at this stage are merely palliative. I can't read the intensity behind her gaze in the final days. She seems to look with purpose, but maybe she is merely asserting that she is still with us, still our mother. When communicating intent is so dependent upon language, itself dependent upon movements in the mouth and jaw. When these movements are no longer possible, is this the end? Not medically, but interpersonally. If ghost is an equation, how to solve it? Search results. Colleen Chandler passed away in Houston, Texas. Colleen Chandler passed away in Olympia, Washington. Colleen Chandler passed away in Dunstable, Massachusetts. I'm gonna kind of skip ahead. There's a section in the book called No Map Gets Me to Her, and it's kind of about dreams. Like, the dreams that I had after my mother died felt sort of like, I don't know, this season of Russian Doll, that new show on Netflix, right? Where, like, the cool thing about the dreams is that I get to be with her again, but in the end, she always dies. And not only she dies, but, like, other people die, and sometimes I'm the one killing them. So here are a few poems from that section. In my dreams, the map is handmade. It can be folded, glued into a notebook, tucked into my back pocket. I recognize locations, landmarks from books. I walk streets that smell of fresh-baked croissants without another person in sight. Time has stopped, but the plant life hasn't wilted. Always there is an impediment, a trek in clement weather. The land is parched, Escher-like in its perspectival shifts, or the rain beats down. I follow the map's slow rivers, then its highways, where the number of lanes and cars keeps increasing. I find her in a small red car, broken down in the center of all those lanes. She opens a window, calls out to the people in other cars. They look from her mouth to the screens of their phones, which don't light up. She has left the hospital. She has left her phone at the hospital. I spend the day gathering paper images of a woman's face into low mounds for wolves, static gradations across the snowfield. They take her back to their dens. Ink stains the muzzles of their young. Walking down a lane of sycamores, I assume the sky is real until a big blue peel falls onto my shoulder. Thick dust spins up from the wheels of a passing bread truck. This is how I know that I am pregnant. Blood moves into my thinnest branches. Then I am in my grandmother's kitchen, the top half of an orange Dutch door open to the spring air. I wait for the pregnancy test to seep its plus sign and look for something to eat in the pantry. I expect to find stone wheat crackers, but instead there are only low tins of cat food. Lean times, a voice narrates. The baby is born with a hole in her heart. The doctor calls it a worm. I watch over her, her chest barely rising as she breathes. With each collapse, a starry seam appears across her spongy gray skin. For a few seconds, as the seam fades, I think that she will live. There is too much silk, so I sew my mother a parachute. I think thick seams might hold more air, keep her aloft. I pull out her IV and strap the parachute to her back, then climb steep red stairs to the attic. I open a window. She sighs. Wind catches her breath and the canopy fills. Dense clouds weight the sky. The canopy crumples from its apex. Tumors drop from her torso as if she is being slowly wrung out. Updrafts snap against silk until the parachute is an orange husk on snow. And then I'm gonna skip ahead to the end of the book where my daughter is kind of making sense of death. When she is 3, she confidently asks strangers if their parents are dead. I don't translate when she refers to caskets as die boxes. She's done this in airplanes. Are your parents dead? Are they in die boxes? One day she wants to visit the mama box. How do we get in and out of the ground, she asks. I tell her we can't see the casket. It's buried. Before our next cemetery visit, she draws apple trees, one for your mom and one for your dad. When she's not sick anymore, she can get a ladder and climb out. We arrive. Can we knock on the door? Can we knock on the grass? We do. We wait. I don't think she likes me. She's not coming out. Hospice, noun. The fog that slips in, the fog we sleep in, the fog we don't sleep in. And one of the ways that I knew that this manuscript just needed to come to an end is kind of illustrated in the next piece. I give her scrap paper with some of these poems printed on the reverse. At first, she only draws on the pages: frilly bedrooms, girls in roller skates and old-fashioned dresses, pregnant women on their backs. But one day I find Hospice, the poem I just read, cut out with the title rewritten, My Mom's Mom Died. Another day, she leaves me a small package on my desk, pages from the manuscript stapled together with an elaborate cover, from Anya to Jessica. So she kind of started giving me back my own poems. The year that she turns 5, we move to a new house. A week later, the old one catches fire. I have a new office, a small room with a curved wall and a blue couch tucked under the eaves, and a door I could shut, but never do. The window overlooks my daughter's school playground. At recess, the kids play cancer. My daughter is the sick one, laid out on the merry-go-round. Her friends make potions underneath to keep her alive. She explains Jesus to a Muslim friend who doesn't understand the reference. She shouts excitedly, "He's God's son, literally. He awoke from deafness." Her friend asks how. "I don't know, it was the time of gods." We can look at her in pictures. Her body stopped working. We can never see her again. Thank you.
I love how low these lamps are. It makes me feel like trying out for the NBA. I feel so tall. Thank you so much, Christina, for putting this together. Everybody at the Woodberry for keeping an eye on the flame for us over here. It's a great spot. Thank you so much. I don't feel like a Boston original. I'm from the Midwest originally. I'm a Midwest original. But I've been trying to write more about the East. So this is my most East Coast poem. I mean, I don't know, it's got a ferry boat in it, so. Let's see here. This is called Tableau Without Birds. We are among the crowd that will board the ferry when it comes. You are a small person. It is easy to lose you in a crowd. You have red hair. That we have teeth no longer scares me. I am getting better at being alive. Everyone says so. A woman behind us, finally, when we see the ferry churning toward the pier, says, "Too many people, not enough ferry." I like how small you are because it makes the world seem dangerous again. It is dangerous, but sometimes I forget. Your small body casts its shadow at my feet. It is kind of like a container. The crowd mills, and yes, there is some muttering. Seems there is an ambulance working slowly up the pier. A problem with some tourist, maybe. The siren somewhat alarms me, and it's very odd to see an ambulance on a pier. The woman behind us who has black hair jostles against us. She would like to make sure of her spot on the ferry, which has arrived, is busy emptying itself of people. I want to get on the ferry because I think you want to get on it. I would also like to look around now to see a bird, to describe a bird to you in an exact way that might make you laugh your specific laugh, but there aren't any birds. Weird how there aren't any birds here, says the woman with black hair, and then we're moving toward the ferry. It is time to board the ferry now, and I reach back to take your hand. Your hand is smooth and cool. I am so pleased to hold it in my hand. It feels completely human, the two hands together like that, like I have finally found the formula, And when we're safely on the ferry, I turn to you with pride, as if I have accomplished something by getting us on the ferry. But when I turn to you to say how we are safely on the ferry, I learn that I am talking to the woman with black hair, and it's her hand I'm holding. Thank you. It makes me feel better about reading this one. But I think I know my audience. This is a prayer for weary atheists. No use waiting around for the new gods. Might as well ask for the new numbers. The new numbers are here. They sharpen their eye on the temporal of your body. They won't be available for your little algebra. For a while it was thought that a stone could survive. For a while we thought of the medicine whiskey, strong as little scorpions. Even drunk, I can congratulate myself only so often for not committing murder. One friend stays up too late and can't hear the morning bird song right. One friend dined too well through life to tell one meal apart from its sisters. And late that evening, I heard a knocking at my rented door. It was beauty stood there, wanting in. Love the world, and it does turn lurid. Motherfuck us constantly, amen. I don't know whether to laugh at that one either. I'm not really sure. Everybody know who Shirley Temple was? Just making sure. Shirley Temple Black was also Shirley Temple, just older when she got married. In every book I've written, for some reason there shows up a kind of a hateful wedding song. And so I'm writing another book now, and I just realized it when I wrote this poem, and I was like, hey, that's another hateful wedding song. There's a word in here called sporagmos or sporagmos. I don't know if you know that word, but you should, because it's all going to happen to you at some point in your life. It's when the followers of Dionysus tear you limb from limb. That is sporagmos. So when it happens later, you'd be like, that's what Josh Bell was talking about. Shirley Temple Black. I made a baby with your bad interpretation of celestial events. First the epithalamion, then the sporagmos. And all wedding long, I'm out there thanking the fathers for the mothers, piling melee weapons in the village center. Killer, you can't eat it while you're talking to it. Yellow cloth over the coffin makes it look like a life raft. And why would I be speaking to you of a funeral? Summer is the line dance. The wedding's where you turn your hope to guns. When the bride and groom kiss in front of witnesses, in front of you, even the even isn't even. Slip up and call your friends your customers. Customer, if you're going to read only one book this summer, then you make more money than I do. I do Dallas in different voices. Benadryl, so please, just the simple math for me. Simple as the shore of the casino pond, along which the heron creeps, a locksmith. All wedding long, I've been sitting up in this hotel bed, watching said pond through the windows, watching black and white movies on the television, not clear on what the thou is, noir feelings at the buffet, and the bride out on the casino floor, still dangerous in her regular clothes, like a cop off duty. Shirley Temple Black, you have backed the wrong apocalypse. Daylight doesn't have any fur. It's the night for when you reach for the toothbrush but pick up the razor. Was it ever an accident? Nor did the mothers even thank me? Be careful when nearing the end of poems that have been written for you, your usefulness so soon in question. The invisible doesn't like to be touched. And I'll read one more. As I think someone was saying earlier, that feels like a lot of poets have been dying recently. So fast that one can't really comprehend it. Mark Strand, of course, Ashbery, recently Lucy Brock-Broido. And I had this title kicking around in a notebook for a while, but it finally sort of made sense how to write it. It's like a poem that gets out ahead of the elegy a little bit. It's called Elegy for the Next Poet Dead. Death is not coming any minute. It comes only on the one. People show up as a mouth. I say hello. I say between here and the core, the earth is completely human bone. Almost completely, the sand of the beach is also. No one saying hello back. Our lips, as they are given, do not have bones in them, but it is not too late. It is good to lean into the evolution. Will you say what I say, or say what you want, or say the past is a location? Say it as I said it. You won't have repeated me. Voice like a bird slipping grains of rice into a coin slot. This is not the first time, as a tree, I reported my true feelings. Thin, tough bone like a wire, so that the lip might do better as a fossil. It is impolite to lay on one's back, looking up at the underside of leaves. Trees don't, but time does, like it. I know you know this already. There had been a large garden, and it was a paradise. But hidden in that garden was another, even smaller garden. You had a little friend. The wind blew off all the clothes. Kneel now and put your eye to the keyhole of the belly button. Snake says, there is no singing, just kissing. There is nothing to death. There is nothing to love. Thank you.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for being here. Thanks to all the readers. Thank you, Christina and Mary, for organizing this. It's a real honor to read. So I'm going to read 7 poems, 5 of them from my upcoming chapbook. Sleepwagon. Our wheels grind the crack-a-lore of 66. World is road and hollow, will and representation. Take me to Tucson, Flagstaff, Golgotha, someplace where skeletons fuck in the sand and jump at our passing to say, hey, lovebirds, care to watch? And you look perturbed, maybe intrigued, but we stay silent because we're late for the star shower and we still need dinner. A drive-in where roller-skated servers delivered shakes and fries and heads on platters. We eat late on a sleeping giant's shoulder, in time for the storm, cruel lines of white in the overhead black. We're making wishes, but there are too many falling stars to count and not enough to actually listen. Then the light show is over, so I focus on the black hole of your bra strap and sigh at how it matches the ignited crystals that broke from the asteroid belt. A song on the radio slips through static as rust and rain. Your lips look like prairie fires. And that's all, though then it's not the radio, but me, and there's smoke in the fields, smoke on the gravel, smoke through your hair sending signals all the way back. Sandia. Drumbeats of my father's index finger at the fruit stem. A hollow pulse means try again. A tympanic thud means we will replay this scene at our deathbeds. In our rusted brown van, we keep a cheap camera, its film dissolved from the Venusian heat. My self-portrait bleeds, and a bronze boy's sweat transubstantiates into potassium hydroxide. Still life of a somber family in a crumbling concrete home. Walls pink like pale fruit or corrupted milk. We sit on the porch and nod at the passing trucks filled with teenage boys in olive drab who carry assault rifles and play polka music. Flies congregate around our reddened teeth. Small crimson cells burst in our mouths. We break the silence to incant the sorcery of Nuevo Leon, a 48 Celsius sun that yields chilled melon as though water and sugar and ice formed ex nihilo from little black seeds in the sand. I beheld the world, and it was formless and void. So this is after the book of Jeremiah. And what is there to do among my fellow swine and stupid children, unless you've cut shoulders in these cornfields, in these flyover wastes? You won't know these songs. Trucks croon truculent anthems, all vitriolic twang and smarmy drawl. Beneath the sun's shamelessness, straw men are pecked eyeless by fearless birds. They sing, and we could dance, while thick haze rises, that green shock in the pungence of bled grass clinging to our clothes, and the reek of pig filth burning in our noses. This town is a pyre. Open a yearbook, take a red pen, and X 1 out of every 10 faces. I won't say they were friends, but I'm homesick for hell and its denizens, a place where the teleology of trash is to allay despair, repair human porcelain. The most common cures are white power and powder, both bleaching of flesh and essence. No second look at the midnight bottles, the dirty needles, the 6 barrels spinning across possible worlds. This world is not coming to an end. It has been ending endlessly. Burning stones grind the sidewalk, the scorch marks invisible to my neighbors. The collapsed walls of my gutted grammar school are manifest to everyone. The playground and path paved over a mountain of mud in the city park where children chant. On top of Old Smoky, all covered in blood, I shot my poor teacher with a .44 slug. They come of age, carve punchlines into toilet stalls, engravings shaped like genitals and swastikas, switchblades shake in chipped marble hands, and vacant, unlined palms. The sun tires, throws lengthened shadows at violent angles. The high school is erased, the dollar store is erased, the liquor store is erased, a black dog snarls, frogs generate from grasses, the sidewalk dims, a cicada suicide bombs a streetlight, buzzes into silence, stillness, flat on its emerald back, another killed messenger. Scolopendroheros. Maquero nightmares and serotic sweat about thatched roofs that hold nests. Startled ceilings of whips and talons drop onto those babies' heads. They wake up as men and want revenge. Want to imagine when prayer proclaimed all things that crawl the earth were meant for you, and all things from heaven loved you. They rally about the animal, its claws hexing the desert and the waning echoes of screaming neonates in small wicker beds. Ruby fangs puncture their bodies, their bellies and bulbous legs helpless, while the slight demons skitter away, quick as a heavy bullet and slow as a death rattle. They cry for another sky, something blue and bloodless, no hail of chitin or lead, no rifle cracks. Instead, they find the creature hiding beneath a rock. They gather a mob and stomp the crawling terror until his legs flail in surrender, then coil still. Monster slain, they dream sanguine, dream of leather-skinned children, their barbed smiles. So this is a new one, so it's still kind of rough. It's called Lakeshore Basilisk. My heart's iterations are crumbling in Chicago. 60 below, they're frozen into park benches, lecture halls, hospital beds. Even warm bed sheets shatter into flecks of paper. No hearth fire can survive the low sun's gaze. That last satisfying warmth of body stuck onto body before both surrender to heat death. Your heavens never had a chance. It all collapses, encrusted in hibernating fire. Blow a kiss, see it fall and break at your feet. Let's be the dust that sweeps Halsted and Clark Street, Lakeview littered with cracked trinkets, all the pretty people statues milky and eternal, some scowling mid-stride for a spring pardon. Our green will never come, not while I breathe the void's warning. Diversity is no shortcut to the heart of the country. Its fingers are everywhere around you, inside you. Maybe your bones are part of it. Maybe we all gave birth to it. Yes, those are crystals growing in our throats. If you ask, maybe now you'll finally hear me sing. But It'll be a rattle, a jagged whistle. Together we could wrap a howl around the cloud gates, twist our songs and shapes into white worms on a frozen lake. Parisian needles. A brolly can keep these dreams out, raise a heart shield for this tired, this poor, this wet of back. Never wanted to see the Sorbonne anyway. Really. Though, would I be sufficiently blokish to proffer cakes and ices, pedigreed to the degree that Maseratis are pedestrian? And would that be enough for admittance, to admit Aquinas was right, that the only way up the great chain is to fake a place at the top, then jump into the 9 hells? Breathe. Relieve the fear that I'm non-cosmopolitan, can only point out the cracks in white marble. This romance ends without beginning. I'll hook a lock on the Pont des Arts, wish it to be the weight that plunges this world into the sun, sinks it all the way to Mictlan. And this is my last poem. Thanks again. This is called Canaan, and it begins with a passage from the book of Exodus. Sing ye to the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. These walls were built to occlude and drown, to form a boundary where everyone's an enemy. O enabler, the hollow valley mires us, ochre almost hypodermic. Silt sluices through our toes, suctions us down as though to say, run away and never leave. They're still after us. Ignore that Pharaoh's soldiers all have our faces, half of them yours, Semitic, regal, ethereal. But we're the two who fled, hand in hand, the staff ready to drop. This corridor narrowing, our prayers heeded only by cetaceans and sharks. Do not let go. Someone's wrist is slippery, air is saline. If there is one thing left to say, best say it now and let it cauterize. Our sandals are submerged. The tattoo on your foot vanishes. I neglect to kiss it. The end was always everywhere. The sea is falling. We know the bones in your hand are the last verses one of us will ever write. So keep writing. Say anything. Please chastise the waves like the poets and sages command. Shut your eyes and run. Erase the red and violet lines on your arms and the sword scar on your clavicle. I'm a dying breath. Take me. Don't let go. Run faster. We're almost somewhere, but do not. Maybe white pigeons will awaken the last one singing. I always wanted to hear you sing. I always wanted to stroll a beach with you, even if sand is just finely ground glass. One of us surveys the rended shore, avoiding the horizon. My final test of faith is to believe in a new world, to know you survived, even if I have to wander these wastes for 40 years. The urge to jump back into the sea. Thank you.